Hello, and welcome to Cindy's Corner. If you have the book, Grandfather's Journey, go get it so that you can follow along. This is a great grandparents' book. It's a Caldecott winner, and that means it won prizes. And all of my friends in Japan, thank you for listening and tuning in, and this book is for you. And maybe you've been to the United States, and maybe people in the United States have been to Japan. And have you ever longed to be where you're not? Let's see what this grandfather did. Grandfather's Journey. Written and illustrated by Alan Say. My grandfather was a young man when he left his home in Japan and went to see the world. He wore European clothes for the first time and began his journey on a steamship. The Pacific Ocean astonished him. For 3 weeks, he did not see land. When land finally appeared, it was the New World. He explored North America by train and riverboat and often walked for days on end. Deserts with rocks like enormous sculptures amazed him. The endless farm fields reminded him of the ocean he had crossed. Huge cities of factories and tall buildings bewildered and yet excited him. He marveled at the towering mountains and rivers as clear as the sky. He met many people along the way. He shook hands with black men and white men, with yellow men and red men. The more he traveled, the more he longed to see new places and never thought of returning home. Of all the places he visited, he liked California best. He loved the strong sunlight there, the Sierra Mountains, the lonely seacoast. After a time, he returned to his village in Japan to marry his childhood sweetheart. Then he brought his bride to the new country. They made their home by the San Francisco Bay and had a baby girl. As his daughters grew, my grandfather began to think about his own childhood. He thought about his old friends. He remembered the mountains and rivers of his home. He surrounded himself with songbirds, but he could not forget. Finally, when his daughter was nearly grown, he could not wait no more. He took his family and returned to his homeland. Once again, he saw the mountains and the rivers of his childhood. They were just as he had remembered them. Once again, he exchanged stories and laughed with his old friends. But the village was not a place for a daughter from San Francisco. So my grandfather bought a house in a large city nearby. There, the young woman fell in love, married, and sometime later, I was born. It's the author. Here he is. When I was a small boy, my favorite weekend was a visit to my grandfather's house. He told me many stories about California. He raised warblers and silver eyes, but he could not forget the mountains and rivers of California. So he planned a trip. But the war began. Bombs fell from the sky and scattered our lives like leaves in a storm. When the war ended, there was nothing left of the city and of the house where my grandparents had lived. So they returned to the village where they had been children. But my grandfather never kept another songbird. The last time I saw him, my grandfather said that he longed to see California one more time. He never did. He's growing up, isn't he? And when I was nearly grown, I left home and went to see California for myself. After a time, I came to love the land my grandfather had loved, and I stayed on and on until I had a daughter of my own. But I also miss the mountains and rivers of my childhood. I miss my old friends. So I returned now and then when I cannot still the longing in my heart. The funny thing is, the moment I am in one country, I am homesick for the other. I think I know my grandfather now. I miss him very much. So did he grow up to be like his grandfather? He did. Because when we think we want something and we get there and we've experienced it and done all that we wanted to do, we miss the other one. Talk to your grandparents about if they have visited a place and always wanted to come back home, or if they stayed. If you have a grandparent that has visited and then they stayed, would you write it in the comments? And thank my friends in Japan for listening and following along. I appreciate it. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and comment and tell your friends, and make sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss the next Cindy's Corner. Have a great day.